All right, on this episode of One on One, I'm going to talk with Brien Pledger, Councilman for District 1. We're going to find out everything about Brien and what makes him tick, and also, he's a military man. It's all next on One on One. One on One is brought to you by the Law Office of Waits and Downer. And welcome back to this episode of One on One. I'm Martin Foss. As promised, Brien Pledger, Councilman for District 1, is our guest today. And Brien, always good to see you. How are you?
I'm good, Martin. It's good to be here as always.
Yeah. You know, I haven't known you for long. I mean, I've known you, but really getting to know you more as a councilman in District 1. But where did it all get started for Brien Pledger? Where were you born?
I was born in Thibodeau. Don't know the exact reason why my mom had me in Thibodeau instead of Houma, but they lived here in Houma. And it started out in Mechanicville. Born and raised on Isaac Street, and became a brother to two older brothers at the time. And mom and dad, of course, they had four boys, and they raised us to be who we are today.
Right. I saw you for the swearing-in ceremonies recently in Terrebonne Parish, and you had a big family. At least it looked big. I saw babies all over the place and everything else. So how many children do you have?
Well, I have two biological children, and I have four children with my wife that are considered stepchildren, but they're mine.
Yeah.
So they're not stepchildren.
Yeah.
And I have four grandchildren as well, too. And just recently, that baby that you saw at the swearing in, that was our newest, Nova Rain. She's the newest addition to our family, and I tell you what, she's reigning as queen right now.
You know, we talked about during the campaign time how your mom was so influential in your life, and she set standards for you. The more I get to know you, the more I see those standards. They're strong. She was pretty tough, wasn't she?
She was. She was, and you have to think. Mother with four boys and a husband, and we had a dog, my first dog named Bear. He was a boy, too. So it had a bunch of us in the house.
She was outnumbered.
But she was in charge.
Yeah.
Whatever she said, that's what went. My dad, I remember him years ago, he'd always say that whatever your mom says, just do what she says, because I don't want to come home because both of us can't be in trouble. So with that being said, Mom, she was the queen. She made it happen. She made us tick. And she taught us certain values in life growing up, such as how to cook, how to clean, how to take care of ourselves as men, put us in touch with our feminine side, if you want to call it. My dad, he was such an upright man. You know, he was a noble gentleman here in Terrebonne Parish. That with what my mother gave us, it just made us well-rounded young men, and it permeated over into our adulthood too as well. And we all did great in life. We all did great in life because of that.
Yeah, because what I see with you is work ethic. You have a lot of work ethic, but you also have a military background. So that work ethic that you learned as, I guess, a child throughout your adolescence, throughout the point where you went to the military, you already had it figured out. So I guess the military probably wasn't that hard for you.
It wasn't. It wasn't at all. My mother and my father, they were very structured. We did things a certain way, and we didn't deviate from that. However, we did have an opportunity to be able to express ourselves to our parents. However, they kept the foundation there. And me going into the military, it was a natural fit for me to go into the military, to be able to listen, pay attention to detail, have no enemies to punish and no friends to reward, be straightforward, be honest with people. And I can say my father gave me a lot of the, I don't mind helping people, getting up speaking. And I learned my speaking, and I got that early on in life. in the Baptist Church, Resident Baptist Church in Houma here, right on Isaac Street, where my father was the senior deacon. And he always said, you know, you're not going to sit in the back of the church. You're going to sit in the front of the church because one day I might call upon you to say something. And at a young age, my dad had me reading the devotional scripture, saying prayers and things like that in church. And then I watched him do it over the years. And I always modeled myself, or my dad was my hero. So I always wanted to be not just like him, but better than him. And with the opportunities that's of today, I had the opportunity, I was afforded the opportunity to be better than him, not putting him down in any way, but I had a few more resources that I could do something just a little bit better than he did.
But he wanted you to be better than him.
Exactly.
There's a difference. Some parents, sometimes there's competition.
Yes.
But I see some parents, they go, I did all this so you can do all this.
You're 100% right, Martin. When I went into the military, it was so easy for me to become one of the company commanders right off the bat, because leadership to me is standing where no one else wants to stand. And if you really look at society and you look at people want to be led. A lot of folks don't have the wherewithal to be able to just stand up and say, hey, I'll do it. I'll speak for you. So someone like myself who isn't afraid, because of the military background, of not being afraid to speak his mind, of course being respectful, but at the same time doing what's right. There's two sides of the road. There's the right side and the left side. I'd rather be in the middle where I can be able to navigate both right and left.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
You know, you talk about public speaking, but I've been able to see you in a couple of meetings. I've seen people throughout this 40 years of my career. There's many different types. Some, they want to handle their own message. Some, they want to be given a script. They want everything laid out for them. They'll read the script. They'll do it. You want to control your own message. You want to be your own person. I figured that out pretty quick with you.
Yes, absolutely. Again, it goes back to people wanting to be led. You know, if I have a platform and I know my platform is right, and you know, I'm looking for advice from other people, I'm looking for input from other people, there needs to be that one person that can voice that message to the masses. It's not saying that I can't be wrong or you know, I'm right about everything. It's that I'm willing to, and that's the most important thing. You have to have a willing body to be able to get the message out.
What did Mike Barker or Lester Beam or whomever, I don't know who first hired you, but what did they see in Brien Pledger? I have a good sneaking suspicion, which you'd probably say, but in your own words, what did they see?
I would say it was Lester Beamer.
Yeah.
Lester Beamer. I went to him. Of course, I knew Craig Nicholas. He was the finance guy over at Honda. And I told him, I said, man, you know, I want to do something different. Military, corporate America, I want to relax now. I want to be able to give back. I want to be able to talk to people every day, normal people, not in a business setting, which it is a business setting, but it's a more relaxed environment, you know. And he said, well, I'll put you in contact with Mr. Lester Beamer. The first time I saw Lester, as I call him, Scrapper, as soon as I saw him, I said, it's something about that guy that I like. Not only that, I can relate to him. And then once I learned his story, where he came from, and how he made his way here in the United States, I fell in love with the guy. And he looked at me and he said, well, I like you. You present yourself well. You're very well spoken. So many other accolades Lester gave me. But when he took me around to the rest of the staff and team members there at Honda, I can remember whom Mr. H.J. Grow. He's the used car manager. He said, I can hear him when I walked off. He said, I like that guy. He's military. That permeated throughout the dealership. And that's where it came to that I was that military guy. And once I got there, got to know Mike. And one thing I remember about Mike when I first met him, I said, Mike, you know, me being a military guy and seeing all that's going on and how fast the car business is and the different personalities and all that. I told Mike one day when they were building a new dealership, I got next to him, I said, Mike, man, you got a lot of different personalities here. And for me, I'm more structured and do things one way. In the military, it's one man, one soldier, one shot, one kill, and that everything it's more singular. Everybody's one. But when you get out into the real world, which I was, me mentioning that to Mike and him being the guy that he is, he stepped back and he looked at me and he said, you know what, Brien? There's more than one ingredients to a good gumbo. And that made me recognize, okay, this is different. I take that to this day when I have difficulties and when I have problems or I have conflict or I don't understand certain things. I take that sentiment that he shared with me and I use that and say, and it helps me, it calms me, it helps me understand everybody's not the same.
That sounds just like Mike Barker. I grew up with it.
Yes.
Yeah, he has a way of looking at things.
Yes.
Of course, he came from a lineage that had pretty good practice.
Yes,
doing
he did.
that, going all the way back to his grandfather.
Yes.
Who was a heck of a guy, and his dad really grew the business. So they know the car dealership for sure.
They know it inside and out. If nobody else knows it, that family does.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm.
You're going to be in charge, I think, what, budget and finance?
Budget and
for the
finance
council?
chairman, correct.
That's not an easy task, and it's numbers. It's putting everything on charts, looking at everything, keeping track of everything. You like to do that, don't you?
I love it. That's right in my wheelhouse. My father, it goes back to him. He was the president of the trustee board for one of the biggest African American churches here in Terrebonne Parish, the Resident Baptist Church, for 30 plus years. I had to literally tell him, hey, Dad, it's okay. You can give it up. Relax now. You've taught the right people to do the job, to carry on the legacy. Step back and give yourself a break. And he did it. However, he was on the board, president of the board of TA Federal Credit Union as well. So it's so many things financially that he gave me as a young man growing up and throughout life. He gave it to me. And now I can better be able to serve the people of Terrebonne Parish as the Budget and Finance Chairman for 2024, because there's a lot of hours I've put in the last 3 days since our chairman, Mr. John Amadi, gave me the opportunity to assume that position. I'm here, I'm at the government tower, late hours, because that's what it takes. Putting different spreadsheets together, different things that I see that we can use a little bit of brushing up on here in Terrebonne Parish. Numbers, I'm going to look at all of them. Every number, every dollar sign, every plus, every minus, every debit, every credit. I want to find out exactly where we can be better here in Terrebonne Parish. And it's not to be, look at it in a bad light. It's more so to make sure that I'm doing the best job that I can and I have the answers
Well,
for people.
it's about accountability. I think that word fits you pretty well. You hold yourself accountable, so other people should hold themselves accountable. And it's not necessarily to find anybody's doing wrong, it's how to find to do things better.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I know you'll be diving into that. One of the reasons I like you're a Navy man, and my dad was a Navy man. But why'd you choose the Navy? Or did the Navy choose you?
Well, great question. If you think about it, I'm from South Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay? surrounded by water,
Yeah.
surrounded by boats. However, in the Navy, we don't have boats, we have ships.
Yeah.
And I have to correct people quite often. There were 4 young men that I grew up with, one being our ex-chief of police, Mr. Dana Coleman. He works for police department now, Mr. Keith Kraft,
Yeah.
Mr. Whitney Calloway, and also Mr. Terrence Lagarde. I grew up with those 4 guys, and many other guys I grew up with too as well. But
That's a good group.
those 4 specifically, correct. We had a pack. We had a relationship in high school that was second to none. We were those guys. We all played sports together. We all hung out together. We all lived in the same neighborhood within 3 or 4 streets of each other, and we just all loved each other to no end. To this day, we still are in communication with one another. Sort of towards the 11th grade, 12th grade, we were kind of deciding, throwing it around what we're going to do. So I said, well, you know, I've had all this structure for so long, it just makes more sense for me to just keep going towards, you know, maybe military. So we discussed it. And of course, 3 of the guys, Terrence Lagarde, Keith Kraft, and Whitney Calloway, those 4 guys, they were the guys that were more rough and rugged. So they said, we're going to the Marine Corps. I was like, no, I don't want that. I said, man, listen, it'd be better if you go to the Navy, man. Nah, Navy, they're soft guys. They're our taxi cab drivers. They drive us around on the boats. I said, well, okay, drive us around on boats. I'm from South Louisiana. Used to going fishing and stuff like that. I'm going to drive a ship. Right. So I decided to go into the Navy, and we all did what's called they did an indebted program. What's called, you go in on a buddy program. Whitney and Keith Kraft kind of went in together as on the buddy system, I guess you would call it now. They all went into the Marine Corps, and I decided to go into the Navy. The only one. And I was signed up in the indebted program to go into the Navy before high school graduation. So I actually had to leave before graduation day, which was fine with me. So I went into the Navy, and after I took the ASVAB, I scored pretty good on the ASVAB. I could have been a ET or electronics technician, as it's called now, but I chose not to. I said, well, I'm from South Louisiana, I'm gonna drive the boat or drive the ship. And that's exactly what I did. I was able to receive my license as far as being a quartermaster, it was called. And that rate fulfilled me to no end, and it helped me love the Navy even more. Because I was able to chart plot courses using the T-square and the compass and all these other things, all these other the aids to help you navigate. And it just made all the sense in the world to do that, because I'm a guy from South Louisiana. I want to be on the water. The only drawback from all that was choosing to do that job. They didn't really have jobs like that shoreside. So all of my time was spent pretty much at sea.
Right.
Which,
Rough or calm.
there you go.
For all of your cases, including those with catastrophic significance, call Waits and Downer Law Firm. This one-on-one program has been brought to you by the law offices of Waits and Downer.